Hello, and a very warm welcome to Dubai for the final two races in the 2017 TCR International Series. Rounds 19 and 20 will round off the year and will decide all three titles of the TCR International Series. Welcome then to the Dubai Autodrome. It's Mark James with you for the final time this year, talking you through the two of today's races. Round 19 we have coming up in a few minutes' time. That's the man who we'll be talking about in a few minutes when we do the grid. It's Gordon Shedden from the UK who will be on pole, Pepe Oriola, always the joker, and Jean-Carl Venet, all resting on him because it looks as though, barring disaster, he will be the 2017 TCR International Series Drivers' Champion. But there is the small matter of the Teams Championship and also the car brand of the year to be decided between now and a few hours' time. There is Shedden talking to Jonathan Ashman, who's one of the stewards here in Dubai this weekend. Jonathan also the promoter of TCR UK, which starts next year. So I wonder what they could possibly be talking about. Gordon Shedden stepping up into the Leopard WRT team for the first time. What a debut in TCR for the three-time British champion. Joining Jean-Carl Venet, replacing Rob Huff, who's elsewhere this weekend. But Gordon Shedden, the perfect start to a TCR career, if I can call it that, because there he is, look, on pole position alongside Venet, with Benny Leuchter making his debut in the TCR International Series in third place. So 1, 2, 3 for Volkswagen. Alongside Leuchter is Pepe Oriola. Row 3 is Gianni Morbidelli and Denis Dupont. Behind them is Aurelien Comte and Dan Lloyd. Stefano Camini is alongside Attila Tashi, James Nash and Frederick Vervish, Alain Menu and Josh Files. And then it's Dusan Borkovic alongside Mato Homola. Further down the grid, Roberto Colciago, who's now barring, well, he needs a miracle, really, several miracles, if he's to stand any chance of taking the title. Colciago starts alongside Aurelien Panis, David Kajaya and Duncan Indy. And starting from the back of the grid, that man, Gabriele Tarquini, in the number 30 Hyundai. And an engine change overnight means that Gabriele will start from the back of the grid. So that's the only major change to tell you about. Dan Lloyd, you'll remember, had an engine change earlier in the weekend following damage in race 2 in China, but the stewards ruled that was down to force majeure, and so there is no penalty. 21 cars down to start the two races here in Dubai. All 21 will take the start. There are some technical issues to tell you about. For example, Josh Files in Mira. In the 95 car, you'll see in a sec on the third and final page of the entry list, Josh Files, having struggled with a gearbox problem yesterday. That's now sorted, but he messaged me about an hour ago just to say that he now has a power steering problem, which the Mira team was going to try and fix, but he wasn't sure if they'd have enough time. So Josh Files will be struggling in the heat, and the car will be awfully heavy to drive, but all eyes will be on this man, Jean-Carl Venet. Had a rookie season in TCR last year. This year, consistency, an absolute model of consistency, in fact, Jean-Carl Venet. And so this is how things currently stand. 25 points, the gap between Venet and Attila Tashi. And so the plan, I suspect, from Venet is to just score one more point than Tashi in race 1. And that's it. The driver's crown will be decided with one race remaining. Stefano Camini out of things, although mathematically, it's important to say before anybody writes in, Camini and also Roberto Colciago still mathematically in with a chance. As I said a moment ago, Colciago will need several miracles because he'll need to win both races from way back on the grid. Colciago starting from row 9 on the grid. He'd need to win both races, and all three men ahead of him failing to finish. He would then finish on the same number of points as Venet, but would win on the number of race victories. As I say, absolutely out of the question, but it's only fair to mention it to you. So the statisticians amongst you will be satisfied. Attila Tashi, effectively the only man who can stop Venet from taking the title, but Venet starts from the first row of the grid alongside his new teammate Gordon Shedden. Tashi will start race 2 from pole, but will start race 1 from 10th on the grid alongside Stefano Camini. So we take a pause for breath and wait for our television colleagues from around the world to join us. For the final time this year, welcome to the TCR International Series 2017. We've reached almost the end of the road. We're in Dubai at the Dubai Autodrome for the final two races of 2017. Two races that will decide not only the Drivers' Championship, but the Teams' Championship and also the Model of the Year. I'll try and talk you through the various permutations as we go through, but barring disaster, the Drivers' Championship will probably be decided in this first race. 3.5 kilometers, this national circuit at the Dubai Autodrome. Race distance, as you see there, 17 laps, standing start as per usual. And it'll be turn one, the downhill right-hander. That will be very interesting on the first laps of both our TCR international races here in Dubai this afternoon. It's Mark James in the commentary box as usual. I'll talk you through the incidents. I suspect there'll be a few, but also the dramas in the Drivers' Championship. The teams is a little more difficult to call. I'll be doing my mathematics between the two races, but I also need to tell you about that man. Gordon Shedden, 3 times British Touring Car Champion, starts from pole position in his first ever TCR International Series race. Alongside him, his teammate Jean-Carl Venet. Behind them, Benny Leuchter in the 3rd Volkswagen, so making it an all Volkswagen 1-2-3. Pepe Oriola 4th, Gianni Morbidelli 5th alongside Denis Dupont. Aurélien Comte in the Opel alongside Dan Lloyd. Row 5 is Stefano Camini and Attila Tasci. That'll be the front row of the grid for race 2. Then it's James Nash, Frederick Vervisch, Alain Menu, Josh Files, Dusan Borkovic, Mato Homola, Roberto Colciago, Aurélien Panis, David Kajaya, Duncan Indy, and you'll see there Gabriele Tarquini, the Hyundai having an engine change overnight after qualifying. We don't know what the problem was, but the team electing to change the engine on the Hyundai i30. And so Gabriele Tarquini, frustratingly for the Italian, will start race 1 from the back of the grid. However, what will he do? We know his racecraft, we know the strength of the car, and it would be a brave man that would bet against Gabriele Tarquini carving his way through the field here in Dubai. A beautiful day, racing on a Saturday, of course, because the Middle East weekend, Friday, Saturday, not Saturday, Sunday is in Europe. So fingers crossed that's not caught you out and you were expecting qualifying today. There is Andrea Adamo, the team boss of Hyundai Motorsport, wondering what Gabriele Tarquini and his teammate Alain Menu can do in the 2 Hyundais. There is Alain Menu, starting from row 7 of the grid, 13th, remember, because effectively the 2 Hyundais are transparent. They don't score any championship points because their homologation is temporary. They will do a full season next year. David Kajaya having problems yesterday in the Alpha. But there, as I said earlier, the 3 Volkswagen Golfs at the head of the field. There were predictions that the Golfs would be strong here. We didn't realize just how strong. Gordon Shedden, having made the switch from his more familiar Honda mounts, the tradition of Gordon Shedden, flash to his friends in the UK, driving in Hondas. He switched to a Volkswagen to help out Jean-Carl Venet, and ironically could deny a Honda driver the title here in Dubai. There is Frederick Vervisch. There is the scene in the Come To You garage. Still a thumbs up. The team very happy with their performance in what is, after all, their first year at this level. Camini was hoping to defend that 2-time TCR Drivers' Championship, but not to be. He was philosophical when he spoke to us for the preview on Thursday, but he's enjoyed his 2 TCR titles. Now he said it's time to hand over to somebody else, and that somebody else will almost certainly be Jean-Carl Venet. All he needs to do is score 1 point more than Attila Tasci in race 1, and that's it. Game over as far as the Drivers' Championship is concerned, with 1 race remaining. We will then shift our focus to the Teams' Championship, which is a little more tricky. And so the calculator will be out between the 2 races. The heat haze shimmering off the track surface here in Dubai. First time for TCR International Series to use this circuit. TCR cars, of course, have raced here before because of the 24 hours of Dubai. TCR Middle East this year started in Dubai before shifting just up the road 40 minutes or so to Abu Dhabi and then finishing in Bahrain. But the TCR International Series appearing here for the first time. Gabriele Tarquini, top right of your screen, taking his position on the grid. What will the two Leopard WRT cars do at the start as they head down for turn 1? We're waiting for the lights to go on. There they go. Moments away from the penultimate race of the 2017 TCR International Series. Shedden makes a brilliant start. What happened to Vernet? Oriola already passed Vernet in the run down to turn 1, and Oriola tucking up behind Gordon Shedden. And Oriola alongside Shedden, forcing the Scottish driver out. It's Pepe Oriola who leads into turn 1. Everybody safely through, I think. Some running wide, some running very wide to avoid the hoardings there. But Pepe Oriola out of the hunt for the driver's title, but knows that he's got it all to do for the team. Lukoil Craft Bamboo will be delighted with that start. Oriola leads from Shedden, from Vernet. Then it's Oriola's teammate James Nash ahead of Mato Homola in the Opel. There was Josh Files briefly, just tucked in behind Attila Tashi. As Nash runs wide. Shedden takes a little look. Vernet, I suspect, more than happy with third place at the moment. Cars come through this little link section, which bridges the two sections of the international track. And Gianni Morbidelli, a problem for the Italian in the West Coast Racing Volkswagen. Down the cars come then. They've come through the link section. They're now back on the international circuit for turn 14, the right-hander that gets them back onto the start-finish straight. So at the end of lap 1, it is Pepe Oriola in the Craft Bamboo Seat Leon with the Lukoil sponsorship, who leads from Gordon Shedden and Jean-Carl Vernet. The two come to you Audis running line astern. It's Frederick Vervisch, I think, just ahead of Comini. Ben Leuchter having dropped back. There is Leuchter in the blue West Coast Volkswagen. Once again, slightly ragged through turn 2. Tarquini already having made his way up. Tarquini P14 now after starting from 21st on the grid. Comini ahead of Vervisch. Mato Homola just behind. Oriola starting to pull away from Shedden. Tashi currently 6th, starting the race. 25 points down on Jean-Carl Vernet. And damage you see there on the bodywork of Morbidelli's car. So contact somewhere, which I don't think we saw. There is Leuchter, ahead of Tarquini in the number 30 car. Tarquini already having made up another couple of places to 12th, so potentially in the top 10 after only 3 or so of the race's 17 laps. Comini P8. Vervisch P9, Homola 10. Then it's Leuchter, who's dropped right back from 3rd on the grid to 11th, just ahead of Tarquini. And that was Homola diving up the inside of Vervisch, beautifully timed by Homola, but he runs slightly wide. Vervisch comes back at him. For the left-hander, the quick left-hander, flat out through turn 2. And indeed, Vervisch regains the place. Brave move by Homola. And that's Menu in the pits. A problem for the second Hyundai. The team must be crossing fingers that it's nothing to do with the kind of problem that sidelined Tarquini. So James Nash having overtaken Jean-Carl Vernet. So it's Seat Volkswagen the top 4. Oriola ahead of Shedden, who might be making his TCR debut, but a racing driver is a racing driver, and he's coming straight back at Tarquini. Nash now up into 3rd, Jean-Carl Vernet 4th, ahead of Tashi. Can Tashi close the gap and get past Vernet to take this battle to the final race of the season? Bit of a gap between the pair at the moment, but we're not even at the end of lap 3 yet, as Morbidelli rejoins the fray. Oriola Shedden then starting lap 4. Duncan Indy dropping down the order. Files still in there scrapping. There is Tarquini now having closed up. And in the top 10 indeed after 3 laps. Tarquini now having a look at Vervish. And this is a replay of... And what is this a replay of? Disregard. Vervish coming under attack now from Gabriele Tarquini, who dives up the inside, and that right-hander turns 7. A little bumping from Matto Homola as he muscles his way past Vervish as well. Leuchter in close attendance. Forced to cut the corner, but really nowhere else to go. Contact with Vervish, who avoids contact with the wall. But there was a definite nudge between the pair. That's between Homola and Vervish. And Vervish now coming back at Aurélien Panis in the orange and black Boots and Gignon Honda Civic. Let's look at that again. And it was contact between Leuchter and Vervish, not Panis or Homola as I originally thought. So will that go to the stewards? Nothing on my timing screen as yet. Oriola still leads from Shedden, Nash 3rd, Venet 4th, Tashi, and then Files 5th and 6th. Tashi has to get past Venet, and Venet knows it. 1 point is all that it'll take for Venet to secure the 2017 title. Tashi and Mira desperate for the title fight to go down to the final race. Let's take a look back at the start. A dreadful start from Jean-Carl Venet. And also Tashi, a brilliant start from him, making his way through the field. But it was Pepe Oriola who made the best start of all, getting past initially Jean-Carl Venet and then tucking up behind Shedden before picking his moment. There he goes. Oh, very brave. The dirty line, you can see the amount of debris being kicked up. Through goes Oriola, and everybody neatly through. Just look at this again. Venet bogs down, and Oriola picks his moment and has a habit of making good starts. Oriola, you'll recall, having, oh, Dan Lloyd, what's happened there? Contact with the barrier for Dan Lloyd. Now, was that assisted into the barrier? Hopefully we'll get that as a replay. That's the right turn up the hill into the link section. Tarquini, lights flashing, goes up the inside of Comini. Now there is Dan Lloyd in the background. Hopefully we can flick back. Indeed we can. And Colchago in the mix as well. Who hit who? Dan Lloyd definitely coming off worst. The safety car has been deployed. So that's one of the 3 Lukoil Craft Bamboo cars out of the frame. And that's Andrew Chisholm, the reaction of the Lukoil Craft Bamboo team manager. Really could have done with Dan Lloyd getting points for the team in their bid to overhaul Mira for the team's championship. But of course, what this means is that the pack will bunch up. And so Tashi will be right behind Venet at the restart as Colchago comes in. I don't even need to say that the puncture on the front left is obvious for you to see. So contact then between Colchago and Lloyd, I would suspect. Yeah, body damage, you can see the rub marks, so it'll be interesting to see if we do have it from another angle, whether it was Colchago who pushed Dan Lloyd into the wall, or did Lloyd have the accident all by himself and Colchago was an innocent bystander. So then we're on lap 7 of 17. The safety car is out. Pepe Oriola leads from Gordon Shedden, from James Nash, from Jean-Carl Venet, Attila Tashi, Josh Files, Gabriele Tarquini having started from 21st and last on the grid. Now in P7 ahead of Stefano Camini, Ben Leuchter, Matto Homola, Aurelien Panis and Fred Vervish. Vervish down in 12th at the moment. And repairs too to Alain Menu's car. Menu having been in the pits for quite some time. Inspection going on at the back as well. And indeed, the stewards investigating the incident between Dan Lloyd and Roberto Colciago. Hopefully they have CCTV footage of the incident in race control, which they can review. I think if we'd had another angle, we'd have been able to see it by now, but there is the damage. There is Dan Lloyd's stranded car still out on track, which still needs recovery. So we will have a couple of laps at the very least, I would have thought, behind the safety car. But indeed, everybody bunched up. Can Tashi get the jump on Vernet? That's the incident. Well, that's the aftermath. We didn't actually see the contact, but Roberto Colciago and Dan Lloyd making contact of some sort, and the incident ending with Dan Lloyd in the wall. There is our race leader's dad, Pepe Oriola Sr. You can almost sense the tension. Oriola taking victory in the second race of the season in Georgia, and not having tasted victory since. A subdued season by the high standards set by the Lukoil Craft Bamboo team. It was Oriola who finished as runner-up to Camini in season 1 in 2015. It was James Nash who finished as runner-up to Camini a year ago when we ended the season in Macau. But this time, no red and white Seat in the battle for the Drivers' Championship, but the team series very much still up for grabs. There is our championship leader, Jean-Carl Vernet, as the marshals are now with Dan Lloyd's stricken Seat. The cars stream past under the window of my commentary box. And remember, we can add an additional 2 laps under the safety car, so we can get up to 19 race laps in all. But how long will this safety car remain out? The safety car then leads the cars around the Dubai Autodrome following that incident between Roberto Colciago and Dan Lloyd. Lloyd's car in the process of being recovered. I don't know what the damage is like, how severe the damage to the barrier is, whether that'll need to be repaired. It didn't look too bad. There is Gianni Morbidelli, who rejoined. So Morbidelli currently last, but Colciago, Lloyd, Aurelien Comte and Alain Menu are effectively out of the race. The happy smile there was from Jaime Puig, boss of Seat Sport, who sees not only one of his cars, but a fellow Spaniard in the lead of this penultimate race of the 2017 season here in Dubai. It's Pepe Oriola from Gordon Shedden. James Nash is in 3rd. In 4th is Jean-Carl Vernet. He is where he currently needs to be, which is ahead of Attila Tashi. If the race finishes like that, Jean-Carl Vernet will be the 2017 champion, because with 25 points on offer from the final race, it won't be enough for Tashi to overhaul Vernet. So Tashi needs to get the jump on Vernet. Safety car is coming in this lap. We will be racing in a matter of moments. What can Tashi do in that run down? And Oriola, painfully slow, bringing the cars up towards the link section. He picks up the pace. We're almost game on once again. They come down through the link. They're coming down towards turn 14. We'll be racing again in a matter of seconds. They turn onto the start-finish straight. They'll take the green flag and we'll be on once again. So Tashi has dropped back. There's too much of a gap, I suspect, between Venet and Tashi. Has Tashi left it all to do? So Oriola ahead of Shedden. Nash takes a little look. Venet ahead of Tashi, ahead of Josh Files, who's powerless to help his young teammate. Gabriele Tarquini, having started from the back of the grid following that engine change, already up to 7th. So he's behind Files. There he is, look, in the number 30 Hyundai. Files struggling with power steering issues, although doing a sterling job, you have to say. Remember, the Hyundais are effectively transparent as far as the championship point's concerned. So will Files let Tarquini through, or will he act as the rear gunner to his young teammate Tashi? Shedden takes a little look up the outside as they turn right up into the link section. Oh, was there a little nudge between the two there? Oriola leads from Shedden, from Nash, from Jean-Carl Venet. Tashi now right up behind the Volkswagen. Will we see Tashi make a move on Venet? Oriola coming down the hill towards turn 14. Oriola still ahead of Shedden, from Nash, from Venet, from Tashi. Files is still just behind Tashi, holding off Tarquini. Around they come, across the finish line. So we're starting lap 10 of the extended race distance of 19 laps. A deceptive angle. Tashi tucks in behind Venet. Files still holding off Tarquini. No change at the top of the leaderboard. Oriola from Shedden, from Nash, from Venet, from Tashi, from Files. Then it's Tarquini. Comini is 8th. Matto Hommela 9th. Benny Leuchter 10th, ahead of Panis, Vervish, Dupont, Dusan Borkovic, David Kajaya, Duncan Indy, and Gianni Morbidelli. Those are the cars still running. Tarquini must be aware that just ahead of him is a championship battle going on. So will he sensibly stay out of things as Shedden runs wide? Shedden's job, remember, is to get maximum points for Venet, but the position he's in doesn't really enable him to do anything to help his teammate, the entire reason he's come to Dubai. Halfway through this 19th round of the 2017 TCR International Series, Pepe Oriola from Spain leads in the Seat. Gordon Shedden, sporting the Saltire of Scotland on the window of his Leopard WRT Volkswagen Golf, in 2nd. Then it's James Nash, then Jean-Carl Venet, then Attila Tashi, Josh Files, Gabriele Tarquini. No change. They head down to turn 1. Through the right-hander they go. That's the scene in the BRC garage, the team running the Hyundais. The gentleman you saw in the foreground, Andrea Adamo, boss of Hyundai Motorsport. He's the man that's transformed the i30N road car into a TCR car. As Comini takes a look at the back of Files. And indeed, Tarquini has got past Files. Now, what could happen? Because just ahead of Tarquini is that championship battle. All Attila Tashi has to do is to outscore Jean-Carl Venet in this race, and the driver's title battle will go down to the wire. Venet content at the moment just to be sitting ahead of Tashi, who just takes a little look up the inside. Not quite close enough to make it stick. Through the link section they come. Back out onto the international circuit. The run down to turn 14. There is Venet, there is Tashi. The experienced Jean-Carl Venet, who learnt his craft in rear-wheel drive GT cars, against the 18-year-old Hungarian teenager Attila Tashi, who took that stunning double victory at his home event. Jean-Carl Venet, remember, only the one race victory to his name, even though he got the 25 points in China because of Tarquini taking the win. And that's Denis Dupont running wide. Denis Dupont in the Come To You Seat in the RACB colours, having run off the track, so a problem for the Seat. Tasci now coming under pressure from Tarquini. Will the Italian driver get into the mix for the battle, or will Tasci let him go? And indeed, there is Dupont, front right puncture on the Seat. And Dupont way off on the runoff area. Tarquini now right behind Tasci. Down the hill they come. Venet is tucked up just behind Nash in the Seat. And the gap now at something like 7/10 of a second between the pair. Will Tarquini make a move going down towards turn one? He just takes a little look up the inside and does indeed. Just eases past Attila Tasci, who very sensibly lets the Hyundai go because there are no championship points to be awarded to the Hyundai, remember. However, he gets between the two. And that's the bit that Tasci perhaps didn't want to happen. If Tarquini can get past Venet, then we're game on once again. But it's now a big old gap between Venet's Volkswagen and the Honda Civic of Tasci. There is David Barry in the Mira Racing Garage. The tension on the face clear to see. Can they keep Tasci in the hunt for the driver's title, or are they concentrating now more on the battle for the team series, which will go down to the wire? Leuchter taking a look up the inside of Hommler. But that's the battle for 9th place there. Hommler currently 9th, Leuchter 10th. Hardly spoken about Camini, other than the 2 times that Camini has secured the title, including last year, remember, at Macau, where James Nash was leading the series, arriving in Macau, but it was Stefano Camini that took the title. I don't want to jinx matters, as Tarquini just takes a look up the inside of Venet, and a clean pass again from Tarquini. Venet, again, very sensibly letting the Hyundai pass. But look at that gap between Venet and Tasci. Here's the pass. Venet just tucking out of the way up behind Nash, allowing Tarquini to go through. So from 21st and last on the grid, Gabriele Tarquini is now in 4th place. Tarquini's next target, James Nash in the Seat. Then ahead, it's Shedden and our race leader, Pepe Oriola. It's a tall order, but Hyundai would love yet another race victory. Leuchter still fighting with Hommler. That's Panis just behind in 11th place in the black and orange Honda you saw moments ago. Very much mixed fortunes for Hyundai, while Tarquini is carving his way through the field. Menu's car is now in the garage receiving attention ahead of race 2. So, Nash now defending from Tarquini, but pulling off the racing line as Tarquini goes through on the inside of Nash. Through turn 2 they go. Tarquini now up into the podium places. This is how it stands at the moment. 27 points the gap between Venet and Tasci. 25 on offer in the final race. If things stay as they are, Jean-Carl Venet will be the 2017 Drivers' Champion, as Denis Dupont has nursed that Seat all the way back round into the pits, clanking his way down the pit lane. I don't know whether he'll come back out just for the final couple of laps or whether he'll elect to sit things out and wait for race 2. So we're looking at Panish, Vavish and the 2 Alphas of Borkovic and Kajaya in that order. And that's the battle outside the top 10. So Oriola then pulling away from Gordon Shedden. There's then a gap to Tarquini. Then it's Nash, with Jean-Carl Venet in close attendance. Tashi still behind Venet. Has to do something about that position if he's to keep the drivers' title hopes alive. On lap 16 of 19, and indeed, Dupont is out of the car. His race over. Of the 21 cars that started the race, 16 are still running. You see Dupont at the bottom of your timing screen at the left there, but his race is over. And a drive-through for Frederick Vavish for infringing track limits multiple times. That'll hardly have an effect on proceedings. Vavish currently in 12th place. Leuchter there, still with Homola. But really, it's the scrap, not even at the head of the field, because there goes our race leader, Pepe Oriola. A gap then to Gordon Shedden in 2nd place, then a bigger gap to Gabriele Tarquini in 3rd. And then there in the distance as they come through the link section, Jean-Carl Venet and Attila Tashi tucked in behind James Nash, 4th, 5th and 6th. Nash, Venet, Tashi, Files, Comini still 8th, Homola 9th, Leuchter 10th. And you have to say, Gordon Shedden, having driven brilliantly, there'll be an awful lot of interest in the UK, in Scotland in particular, for Gordon Shedden making his TCR debut here in Dubai and playing the perfect teammate, other than the fact that he can't help his teammate. Jean-Carl is on his own, but is in the position he needs to be, which is ahead of Attila Tashi. There is Vavish dropping down the order, having taken his drive-through. So Vavish immediately dropping to 15th, still ahead of Morbidelli, but Borkovic and Kajaya and Panish all moving up thanks to Vavish's drive-through. So James Nash ahead of Venet. Now, is he going to get out of the way and let the series leader through? Venet clearly thinks he should, with a little flash of the lights just to tell Nash that he's there, because of course the longer he spends behind Nash, the closer Tashi closes up. There he is, look. Two more laps after this one. And is Tashi close enough? He's certainly in a reasonable position to challenge. But as we've said several times, even at the beginning of this race, the Volkswagen's very much at home here in Dubai, and the Hondas have struggled for most of the weekend as Tarquini is looking at the back of Shedden, targeting 2nd place. Nash, though, still ahead of Venet, who's ahead of Tashi. There is the scrap for 2nd place. Shedden at the moment ahead of Tarquini. We're on the penultimate lap of this extended 19-lap race now. And I suspect, and Tarquini is slowing. Tarquini is backed right off. He was right up with Shedden, and we saw a moment ago that the gap had opened. So Nash back up to 3rd, Venet 4th, Tashi 5th, and Tarquini tumbling down the order, having been passed by Leuchter. And I suspect Homola will be passed. So a real roller coaster of a race for Gabriele Tarquini, starting from 21st, getting up to third and battling for second, and now tumbling back down, currently in 9th place. Nash, though, still ahead of Venet as they come round turn 14 for the penultimate time. One more lap to go. Pepe Oriola still leads this race from Gordon Shedden as Jean-Carl Venet all over the back of the Seat of James Nash. Tashi takes a look but decides better of it. Venet holds the line. So we're on the last lap. What can Attila Tashi do? Can he extend this championship battle to go down to the final race of the season? This lap will decide it. James Nash grimly hanging on to third place, not giving way to Venet. Tashi's up there too, but he really, really has to get past that Volkswagen. Venet has the line. He goes through the right-hander. Venet takes third place from Nash. That surely is it, because Nash is now ahead of Tashi. And so Venet has the cushion of that Seat between himself and Tashi, and that surely has decided the driver's title for 2017, because Jean-Carl Venet is 2 places ahead of Attila Tashi as they come through the link section for the final time. The frustration you can almost feel in Tashi's car, that had Nash stayed ahead of Venet, there was always the possibility of a last-minute lunge from Tashi. That, though, is not going to happen this time. And so down towards turn 14 for the final time. The checkered flag I can see through my window has already waved. So Pepe Oriola takes the win from Gordon Shedden, from Jean-Carl Venet, who finishes third, and so takes the title. Jean-Carl Venet is the 2017 TCR International Series Drivers' Champion. Disappointment, frustration for Attila Tashi, but the battle for the Teams Championship will take our focus in the final race of the season. Mira went into the penultimate race with a gap of 67 points over Lukoil Craft Bamboo, but the Seats finished 1st and 4th, with Tashi only 5th, Files in 6th, and of course Colciago failing to score, as did Nash. So things tighten up a little, but not that much. I'll have to do my sums in between the two, but I'm pretty sure that the Teams Championship does indeed go down to the wire, but there's no such debate over the driver's crown. And for the 2nd year in a row, it's a Leopard Racing WRT driver that takes the title. But Stefano Camini hands the crown over to last year's teammate, Jean-Carl Venet, a rookie in TCR last year, saying to us several times, I learned from my mistakes. I now know exactly what I'm doing. But that's the result of round 19 of 20 in the TCR International Series. The podium places taken by Pepe Oriola, Gordon Shedden and Jean-Carl Venet, with Nash, Tashi, Files, Comini, Homola, Borkovic and Kajaya rounding off the top 10. So Pepe Oriola taking his 2nd victory of the season, and a victory, or the 2 victories, bookending the season. Oriola victorious in race 2 in Georgia, and having to wait until right at the end of the season, round 19, before he takes his 2nd win of the year. But all the applause, all the congratulations from the Leopard WRT team for Jean-Carl Venet, TCR International Series champion. Helmet off, balaclava off, and Alfredo Filippone will be hot-footing it down to put a microphone under the new champion's nose, as there comes Pepe Oriola. That's the picture which will be on the websites, the forums, and the magazines in the next few days. Jean-Carl Venet wins the crown by doing exactly what he needed to do, staying ahead of Attila Tashi. Helped in the end by James Nash, but Tashi, really, you have to say, it would have taken something very brave, foolish even, for him to try to get past Jean-Carl Venet. But look at the delight on Pepe Oriola's face. You'd have thought he's won the title and not Venet. Congratulations from the sponsor. Look at that for a smile. He's had a disappointing season by his standards and that of the team. And so to get back onto the top step of the podium, a brilliant, brilliant way for him to end the season.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But look at those faces.
Who may well be the 2017 champion of the TCR International Series.
Another look at the results of round 19. Pepe Oriola taking victory over Gordon Shedden by just over 4 seconds. Venet doing what he needed to do, finishing on the podium ahead of Nash, Tashi, Files, Komini, Homola, Borkovic and Kajaya. Both the Alphas finishing in the top 10. Duncan Indy frustrated by not finishing in the points ahead of Vavish and Benny Leuchter, with Panis, Tarquini, Morbidelli, Dupont, Colchago, Lloyd, Compt and Alain Menu failing to finish. And will we see Alain Menu in the final race of the season? So then, let's talk to our race winner first of all. Pepe Oriola is in the pit lane, talking to Alfredo.
Pepe Oriola, second win of the year. You won in the first event, you win in the last event.
Yeah, absolutely happy for me, for the team. It's been a really tough year for us, with a really bad luck, especially in Suriname, where we were close to get back on the championship. We had a gearbox failure, so it's really happy to end with a win. And now let's see race 2, because maybe I can still achieve third position on the standings, which will be really good for us. And I want to say thanks to Lukoil, to Seat, and to the family of this year, because it's been a really good year, and I hope to be back next year.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you, Pepe. Thank you, Alfredo. And I think you have a world champion to talk to. He's posing for pictures at the moment, but Jean-Carl Venet already crowned. There goes Alfredo with his cameraman Thomas in close attendance. But let's just confirm then that Jean-Carl Venet cannot now be caught. And so Attila Tashi is not entirely secure in second place. Komini could still catch him by winning, with Tashi failing to score in the final round. Tall order, I know, but there it is. And Oriola, 7 points behind Komini. What can he do? As he said, wants to finish third in the series. And so the final round of the season, still honour up for grabs for Pepe Oriola. Kajaya in the Alpha moving ahead of Vavish. But indeed, let's hear from our new TCR International Series champion. Alfredo is talking to Jean-Carl Venet.
Jean-Carl Venet, congratulations, it's made.
Yeah, we did the job. We wanted to do it in race 1, so I think we can be really proud of us. It was tough race, tough battle. Like you saw, it was no team strategy. So I have to do it by myself. Take really bad start. I nearly stole. I don't know what happened, because I worked on that, and all my start during the practice were really good. But no, race after was okay. I had still the same braking issue as in qualifying. So it was tough. I tried to do my best to stay calm. I mean, I was the most experienced guy compared to Attila, but congrats to him. Did a really good first lap. I mean, I think he did everything he can do. And no, I'm just really happy.
How does it feel to be a TCR International champion?
Well, it's another title in the pocket, so this is good. Yeah, I mean, it's great. That shows that I can be performant in any kind of race cars. I've been champion in LMP, single-seater, GT, endurance races, and now touring cars. So I mean, it's just great. I just want to thank all the sponsors, Leopard and Anemo, of course the team WRT, is the team owner Vincent Voss, and all the crew, the engineer. I mean, it was a tough season. It was a really tough season, and I think we really deserve it, and I'm really proud about everybody.
Very nice title. Well done, Jean-Carl.
Jean-Carl Venet, the model of consistency this season. Only taking victory once, inheriting the 25 points because of Tarquini's victory in China. But all those podium finishes and the point scores have delivered Jean-Carl Venet as the 2017 International Series champion for TCR, but there is still one more race remaining. We'll see you later.